Marcus Williams, a 28-year-old ex-Special Forces soldier, walked briskly down the wet streets of New York, his footsteps echoing in the quiet night. The city lights glimmered off puddles from an earlier rain. Though dressed in casual clothes, his posture betrayed his training, straight-backed, alert, disciplined. His backpack carried nothing more than essentials, but tucked inside was a folded military ID, unnoticed by anyone. As he approached a luxury apartment complex, two police officers emerged from a squad car, their flashlights cutting through the dim streets. "Hey, stop! We need to talk to you," one shouted. Marcus froze, hands slightly raised in a non-threatening stance. Calmly, he asked, "What's the problem, officers?" The officers ignored his questions, insisting he step aside. They accused him of suspicious activity near a high-end building. "I live around here," Marcus said evenly, producing his ID. "I'm not doing anything wrong." The officers ignored it. One stepped forward, shoving him against the hood of the squad car. Marcus felt the cold metal press against his chest, but didn't resist. He knew resistance would only escalate the situation. Handcuffs clicked around his wrists in front of a small crowd of onlookers. Smartphones were discreetly recording, the red and blue lights reflecting off the wet pavement. Marcus's eyes scanned the scene. He noticed minor procedural mistakes, officers skipping protocol, ignoring key details, and failing to communicate with each other. "You're coming downtown," one officer said, shoving him toward the squad car. Marcus's mind raced, but he stayed calm. He had been underestimated, a mistake that would cost them later. A small glint of his folded military ID peeked from his backpack, unnoticed by the officers. As the car doors closed and the vehicle started toward the precinct, Marcus felt a mix of frustration and determination. He wasn't powerless. This injustice would not define him. Instead, he silently vowed to turn this wrongful arrest into a lesson for the police, the public, and the system that failed him. Marcus spent the next 48 hours in a holding cell. The stark fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the concrete walls, the stench of disinfectant mixed with sweat and fear. He observed the other inmates quietly, noting the variety of personalities, the hierarchy, the tension. But his focus was never on them. It was on the officers and the system that had treated him as a threat instead of a citizen and a former soldier. Sitting on the narrow bench, Marcus began sketching diagrams in a small notebook he had tucked into his bag. He mapped out the sequence of his arrest, highlighting procedural violations, missed protocol, and obvious negligence. Each note strengthened his resolve. He could see the weaknesses clearly. Other inmates noticed his calm demeanor. They whispered, "Who is this guy? He's not scared at all." Marcus smiled faintly to himself. Fear wasn't part of his vocabulary. Not now, not ever. He quietly contacted a former Special Forces colleague via encrypted messages. "I need guidance," he typed. The colleague replied within minutes, suggesting strategies for documenting misconduct, collecting evidence, and approaching media outlets safely. Marcus absorbed the advice, mentally preparing for a battle that wasn't physical, but intellectual. Each night in the cell, he reviewed body camera footage, news snippets, and procedural manuals in his mind. His military training allowed him to observe without reacting, to strategize without panicking. By the time he was released on bail, Marcus already had a plan, meticulous, calculated, and ready for execution. Once home, Marcus converted his apartment into a tactical operations center. Laptop open, multiple screens displaying reports, videos, and news feeds, documents strewn across the table, each piece of evidence meticulously cataloged, police misconduct, eyewitness accounts, minor procedural violations, and digital media clips of the arrest. He identified key officers involved repeatedly in misconduct. He cross-referenced reports, created timelines, and prepared a dossier that could withstand scrutiny.
Marcus also set up a plan for social media amplification, press engagement, and legal channels. Every action was calculated to maximize impact while maintaining safety and legality. He practiced patience, knowing timing would be crucial. Any rash move could compromise the operation. He contacted only trusted former colleagues who provided insight into evidence handling and strategy. Marcus had become a strategist in plain sight, invisible to the public eye, yet orchestrating a plan that would bring the truth to light. Each day, he refined his narrative, anticipating counterarguments and preparing for the public revelation. He watched the city from his window, calm, confident, and focused. The system that humiliated him had no idea that the moment of reckoning was near.
The press conference started as usual. Officers standing in formation, cameras flashing. Then, Marcus's compiled evidence was uploaded to public streams and social media feeds. Screens displayed misconduct videos, procedural violations, and eyewitness accounts. Officers involved in the wrongful arrest were publicly exposed. Social media erupted. Hashtags praising Marcus as disciplined and courageous trended nationwide. Investigations were launched and suspensions were immediate. Marcus walked out of the police station quietly, unhurried, head held high. He didn't celebrate, he simply observed as justice unfolded. His revenge was silent but complete, a methodical exposure that demonstrated intelligence, patience, and strategic thinking could prevail over arrogance and power. The city lights reflected off the pavement as he walked home. Marcus felt the satisfaction of knowing the system had been held accountable, not by violence, but by the truth he wielded carefully.